I don't know how to start this video. What I'm doing is I'm walking around and I'm going to be talking about movies I've watched recently, ones that I've picked up at the flea market and at thrift stores and, you know, wherever I can find them. But like, just to jump into it, hey guys, like I feel like, so let's just start the video. How does that sound? I'm going to talk about movies that I like I said, and I want to start with this one. It's called Everybody Wants Some. It's by Richard Linklater, the director of Dazed and Confused, and it is fantastic. So a lot of times I'll watch movies and I'll like the characters and the locations, but I won't like the plot. Well, this movie basically has no plot. It's about college baseball players 2 or 3 days before school starts, and they move into their frat house and they're just hanging out. And I know that sounds like it could be boring, but it's great. Highly recommend this one. Technically, it's a baseball movie. They don't play baseball until like an hour and 15 minutes into the movie, and it's just a practice. So you don't have to like sports to like this. When I say there's no plot, I basically mean there's not like much conflict. The same with like Dazed and Confused. It's just kids, they want to party. But besides that, there's nothing like major, super heavy going on. Next movie I wanted to talk about, Pacific Rim. I've heard great things about this. I never actually got to see it until recently, and it is fantastic. I'm not huge into like Godzilla type movies. Those monsters have a certain name. I'm not sure what it is off the top of my head at the moment, but for like a Godzilla type movie, I feel a lot of those, like you're supposed to be like, oh my god, awesome, but they never really lived up to that for me. But this one does. You watch this and you're just kind of like blown away by how cool it is. It's by Guillermo del Toro, who obviously is very talented, and this is a really fun time. Highly recommend Pacific Rim. Next up is the Willies. This is not great. It's a kid's horror movie. The best part about it is Sean Astin is in it, and he is about to tell a ghost story, and the kid goes, oh, you're not going to tell the one about you and your friends finding that pirate ship, are you? So they mentioned the Goonies in this, and yeah, that was the best part. It's an anthology movie. It has some really short stories right in the beginning, which is realistic to like how a kid's like campfire story would go. But then after those short ones, it has like a 25-minute story about a monster who lives in the bathroom at an elementary school. And that one's like halfway decent. But then the next story is like 40 minutes. And it's about a fat kid who collects bugs and like tortures them. And that one's just way too long. I feel that if they split that one in half and threw in a few other short stories, the movie would have been better. And it's just not like especially well made or anything. Spoiler alert, this kid tortures bugs, and then the ants come and they rip his like arms and legs off. But it's done in such a PG-13 type of way that it's just like odd. It's bizarre. So yeah, don't really recommend this movie. Next up is a movie I would highly recommend, Kubo and the Two Strings. Fantastic, awesome flick. I would say it's maybe the best non-Disney animated movie ever. I really like this one. You should watch it. Next up, we do have a Disney one, and this one is fantastic, Ratatouille. I'm sure most of you have seen this. It is very, very good. I like this so much. Highly recommended. Here's a free TV in the trash. With Disney movies, I'm always conflicted on which ones are the best. Maybe this one is. Maybe it's Coco, I really like that one. Maybe it's Aladdin, but then like I forget, oh, the Toy Story movies are really good too. So I don't know if I have a favorite, but this is high up there. Yeah. Next on the list is Son-in-Law, which is actually a pretty decent Pauly Shore movie. Maybe his best role. Son-in-Law is a fun time. I rewatched Dr. Sleep, and this is fantastic. One of the best Stephen King adaptations. Probably the second one behind the original Shining movie. Stephen King doesn't like the Shining movie, but I love it. I think it's like one of the best horror movies. So yeah, the sequel to The Shining is also great. So I mentioned how Everybody Wants Some doesn't really have a plot, which is much better than a movie where you don't understand the plot, which was the case with this one right here, The Triplets of Belleville. Please don't run me over. Thank you. So anyways, yeah, I wasn't a big fan of this movie right here. The plot was like confusing. There's hardly any dialogue, and I just didn't know what was going on. Animation looks great though. It reminds me of the game Professor Layton. Yeah, so if you're huge into animation, you like this. I didn't like it that much. It is critically acclaimed though. Next up we got Miracle Mile, and I'm surprised more people don't talk about this because it's really, really good. It's about a guy, he gets a phone call telling him like, oh, the bombs have been dropped, you know, everything's gonna end soon. And it turns out like he wasn't supposed to hear that phone call, it was meant for someone else. So he spends the next like 2 hours like preparing for doomsday. It sounds depressing, and it is a depressing movie, but it's very well made, and it's really, really awesome. The Spectacular Spider-Man, complete first season. This is surprisingly really good and has a really cool theme song. If you like kids' cartoons and you like Spider-Man, I do recommend watching this. Next up is The Explorers. Now, I really like the first hour of this movie. Problem is, it kind of goes off the rails towards the end. Spoiler alert, they meet like aliens and they're just like so goofy. So I feel that like they didn't have like an ending to this movie. But like I said, the first hour is really cool. It's like an adventure movie, kind of similar to Goonies or Flight of the Navigator or something. Still worth watching if you've never seen it. There's a YouTuber that I watch, Roscoe Soul Train, and they filmed this in his hometown. Can you believe that? So I thought this might be good because the guy looks creepy on the cover, but it is very bad. It's just kind of boring. The creepy doll, he's like wooden, he is kind of cool. But like I said, just a boring, not very great movie. I should give it to the trash man here. So I want to talk about a couple movies that I don't own, but I watch streaming, and I think they're underrated. One is called Just One of the Guys. Is a girl pretending to be a guy. I don't even remember why. I think because she's trying to get a scholarship, but they just don't want to give it to a woman. And there's some pretty funny moments. It's halfway decent, but a complete 80s comedy hidden gem, I would say, is the movie Loverboy with Patrick Dempsey. It's very, very funny. So yeah, watch Loverboy. Now, a movie I used to like as a kid, but I don't feel holds up, is Hot Shots. And I know some of you might think that's crazy. You remember Hot Shots as a great movie. I tried to rewatch it like 6 years ago and wasn't into it, and I tried to rewatch it again about a month ago, and yeah, I just think it's kind of lame. And it's not that I don't like slapstick humor. I think Naked Gun is a masterpiece. And I even feel that National Lampoon's Loaded Weapon 1 holds up better than Hot Shots. Even that movie Fatal Instinct is better than Hot Shots as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, Loaded Weapon 1 is pretty funny. Next up is Ernest Goes to Africa. So now after watching this, I've seen every single Ernest movie except for the one in the army or whatever it's called. And excluding that one because I haven't seen it, this is the worst one. There is a scene though filmed at a flea market, which is pretty cool. This one, Gacy, is just okay. It could have been better. It's just kind of slow. There's not many kills to it, but it's all right. Obviously, it's about John Wayne Gacy, starring that guy from Pee-wee. The next film I want to talk about is called Bird on Wire. Now this is a solid flick. Whoa! Just a very well-made romantic action comedy. Mel Gibson, he's great. A lot of people don't like him, but you know, old school Mel Gibson is good. Goldie Hawn, she's good in this. I never saw this, and I wish I saw it earlier. It's very good. And this next one is called The Champ, which is a good underrated boxing movie. But most boxing movies aren't actually about boxing. Rocky, that's not really about boxing. It's about an underdog. And The Champ is about a father and son. You got Ricky Schroeder. He's actually fantastic in this. And you got John Voight right there. He's good. It's a sappy movie. People do criticize it for being too sappy, but I enjoyed myself, and I recommend The Champ. And I would be greedy if I didn't tell you to go watch Greedy. That's a very good movie. I was very happy watching that one. You got Michael J. Fox, Kirk Douglas, other people in there. This old guy, he's got a bunch of money, and all the relatives suck up to him, and he kind of tries to test Michael J. Fox here to see if he's worthy of the cash. Just all around very well made. It looks good. It's funny. Highly recommend that one too. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time around. Oh, also, before I go, if you appreciate what I do and you want to hear me talk about all these films and more, make sure to join my Patreon. Wow!